Bam. All right. We just finished that video up. Oh, I can hear myself talking somewhere. Oh, man. Sounds so much nicer. Yes, I will give everyone a second to hop on in here.
Including me. Oh, man. I have a headache. I'm going to try drinking some caffeine real quick, though. See if it goes away.
Right. I was giving people a couple minutes to hop on in. My eyes are really off tonight. I don't know what I did with my glasses. I could use my glasses right now.
They're probably in there, right?
Yeah, maybe. Thank you. That is why I made it all nice and clean up in here. And I couldn't even find them. Whoa, these are dirty.
You have a cloth in there, don't you?
Yeah, I actually do. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Sorry, slow start here. But welcome to the show. Welcome to the True Crime Talk Show, the one and only, brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. Super stoked to have you all in here. And yes, it looks like we have another Brendan in the chat. Welcome, my other fellow Brendan, not musical chairs. So here is the new layout, okay? Because it used to be that the green screen, the grass, was pre-recorded. Now you can tell everything from our sign here, all right? So when it says... when we have this sign up, it is not pre-recorded. When that,
it is.
I mean, it is pre-recorded. Sorry, this sign is pre-recorded. All right.
That sign means we're on heavy. The Thought Riot Podcast.
Super
this
heavy. This
sign means the True Crime Talk Show, which is live with all of you lovely people.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And it will become easier soon. So, yeah, we'll get that figured out.
Get what figured out?
I'm not going to go into it.
Oh.
Not on here.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah.
So Happy HK asked in the premiere, do you see the chance there have been deals made between the university and the victims' families?
Oh gosh. What a tough subject.
I just thought that was an interesting question. And I wanted to maybe talk about that real quick because we're, coming in directly from the premiere. And if you guys had not seen the premiere, we were talking about the new Good Morning America interview that Steve and Christy Goncalves did about their daughter Kaylee and how she was found slumped over, sitting up against the corner.
Yeah.
Of in the bed, like.
Yeah. So her back against the corner and slumped over in the corner. But yeah, we're gonna dig into that. We're gonna bring up all the concerns because there are a lot of little details in that very, very, very short little bit of information that we got. Gosh, man, I have to be careful where I look, otherwise it reflects in our lights. So we'll go without it. Sorry, having a rough time today, apparently. But welcome to the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. If you're just joining, welcome everybody. We have quite a few new subscribers, which is incredible. We just hit 8,000, which is incredible, and none of us. So I don't want to take any of that. That is all you guys. That is all you Thought Rioters out there, right? And we say this all the time that Thought Riot Podcast is not special because of us up here. It is special because of our interactive community because of all the people who watch us and engage with us and have conversations with us and share information with us. That is what makes this special, is the interaction between people, because we don't have one mind. We don't have two minds. We have that hundreds of thousands of minds working on these cases. And a good example of that is the video that just came out, literally just came out this morning, where John Walsh, America's Most Wanted host, gave input or feedback or whatever to the Idaho 4 families. And he talked about the overwhelming success that America's Most Wanted had, and that show did more than any single FBI agent has ever done in the history of the FBI. A single FBI agent hasn't even done half. They caught 1,200 uncatchable people, and they caught 17 of the FBI's top 10 most wanted through the decade that they were on there. Now that right there is what's great. No matter how many police departments, no matter how many people say that the true crime community is toxic and it gets in the way, not true. We have stats to back that up, that it isn't true. Look at the America's Most Wanted stats. Look at Don't F with Cats documentary on Netflix. There's another one that just came out also. So statistically, mathematically, we have the numbers showing that what we do here and have interest in is beneficial to society, right? No matter how many people don't like being held accountable if they did a crappy investigation, directly talking about police or suspects or whatever. And that is what we are here. So thank you guys. 8,000. Woohoo. That's awesome. Once we get to 10,000, we'll do something special, and we'll just do it in increments of tens. So just keep at it. Just keep sharing it. I had a lot of messages just recently come through. Gosh. Oh man, I'm sorry. I am the worst at remembering anything, you guys, literally the worst. But somebody shared that they put on our video and their mom listened to it. Gosh, it's right on the tip of my tongue who it is. If you're in the chat, say hello. But they had their mom listen to it, and she's an older woman in her 80s, and ended the ride or the show or the video that they were watching, and she was like, man, I really like that. And that is incredible, because as long as the presentation is right and the respect is there, it doesn't matter how old you are, what era you're from. We are all great human minds, and seeing those lines of difference do nothing but hold us back. So when we're talking about true crime, like we are at Thought Riot Podcast or the True Crime Talk Show, that supersedes any divisions of age, of any of those other reasons why we put people in boxes. You know what I mean? And that is pretty incredible. So shout out to all of you.
Yeah, for sure. But I love this show because we can dig into each like piece of science and look behind the scenes of investigations and stuff. And I think it's incredible. I think it's incredible what all of us do here, including all of you. But to go back to the possible deal between families, I don't think that the Goncalves family has made any deal with the university, specifically because they retained the right to file a civil suit.
Yeah, I'm listening.
So I feel like that would counteract that.
Maybe,
I mean, unless if after the fact they signed something saying we won't file a suit if this happens, but what could the university give them? I mean, to make them give up that right, I don't think they would do that.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking, why do you think? Because I saw a bunch of people saying before the home was tore down that there were steps the Goncalves family could take to prevent it.
Yeah, there is. And I forget
why would they not?
I forget what the name of it is, but there's this submission. It has something to do with. Okay, there's actually two different ways. Sorry, I'm sitting here thinking, you guys, while I'm trying to figure out the word, my ADHD mind. So there's a couple different things that they could have done if they had a really good civil attorney. That civil attorney could submit something around, and it would just be a way to manipulate the situation to question who the owner is and stop this from going on. I had another situation one time where the city was trying to come in and tear down this house, this leftover house or whatever, because they were trying to lay pipes or something like that. And one of the ways that the attorney got them to stop, just temporarily stop, was to submit. And I don't remember what the submission was. If anybody's in law here, help me remember. But they submitted a document
injunction
questioning that. So an injunction is the other one, but they submitted a document questioning the ownership of the house, and that effectively made them not be able to move forward with any changes on the land or anything like that. It's just a way to loophole the system and get them to stop temporarily while they figure out, getting it submitted the right way through an injunction, probably. Now I'm just not so up on that side of, civil law, but we can definitely look into it and figure it out. I agree. I think they could have done more. However, it's going to depend highly on the attorney that they're using and what they're willing to do and what kind of experience they have in that. So I'm not shocked that could have fell through the cracks. So, but yeah, going back to the deal, going back to the agreement idea, I don't think that's the direction they went. And the reason being is we've seen the Goncalveses come out multiple times and put down the investigation, put down the city, call out the college. And I don't think that's for show. Part of the reason why I don't think it's for show, because he every time he's done it, it's like halfway called them out, like he's reserved in what he's doing, trying not to tip the boat. And that doesn't give off an idea of being bought out. Plus, you guys, I'm giving these theories while intentionally ignoring the fact that his daughter passed, right? And I don't think there would be anything more important than finding that information out. I don't think there is a monetary value that could come close to closing this out and feeling like they got justice. And that is partially why I'm a little bit surprised why they're so bought into Kohberger, and it makes me wonder if it is a trauma induced decision. You know what I mean? Because they want him to be the guy. That wanting him to be the guy and knowing he's the guy, those are two different things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But tort claim, that's what it was. Heather said it in the chat.
Oh,
it
okay,
was a
okay.
tort claim that they could have filed. That's what I had remembered hearing people saying, is they could have done that to stop them from doing anything, at least for a little bit, like you said. But from all accounts, I never heard of them filing anything, and I was kind of surprised by that. I think a lot of people thought they would. Now Steve did say that he saw things. What interview was that? That was not this one from Good Morning America.
What do you?
It was
He saw things.
Another recent one where it was the one where he said there's a whole new type of tech and surveillance on people
with
that
Enton? You're talking about the one with Enton on X or Twitter?
Yeah, and I thought, is he talking about Fog Data Science, which is the company that we dug into that sells your background app data and geolocation data to law enforcement. And we dug into that company and exactly what it's doing. And it made me really wonder if that's not what's going on here. And I think honestly, recently we found evidence that it could be. Like,
yeah. And I don't want to dig into that because I'm actually doing that this next show. But yes, I agree with you.
You guys
There
are going to
is
see that.
actual evidence of it.
You guys are going to see that next week. We're going to dig deeper into it. But because I really thought, ooh, like once I found out that's possible, that there are 18 jurisdictions, you know, that are statewide, local, federal, that are using this data broker. Like it's like they buy your data from a data broker and then they put it in a database that's searchable for law enforcement. And then law enforcement pays a subscription fee to access that database, and it's near real time. So they could just type in the address and see what phones were in the area, or they could just look in the town of Moscow and say, okay, what phones were actually moving around or aren't from
right
this
here.
area and were there that night. The fog updates and documents on the.
I'm just gonna post it for everyone.
We have
so they
all
can
heard
bookmark it later because I think this is very, very, very important. And also, if you guys want to be able to follow along next week, man, the evidence is real. And I don't want to share it now just because of how ridiculous YouTube can be, where people are like, oh, they said this, so I need to get on it first. You know what I mean? It's just a little ridiculous, but
I know every time we talk about wanting to do something, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I won't do that.
It's like wolves.
Yeah,
on the attack.
Yeah,
trying to get to it first.
I give people space, man. I intentionally do. You know, we had the Brent Kopaka stuff, literally every document. We have like over 20 documents, and we chose not to cover that because there were some creators out there just doing a really, really, really good job. I don't think it's beneficial to be like, oh, I'm gonna fight and edge in to get subs. You know, I think the quality of the content will get subs, not not trying to fight to get subs. But that
we're not trying to be first to break information or stories. We're just
that's
trying to dig into them. Essentially, we don't need to be first.
Yeah.
And Texas Ranger, that's fine if he's the man. I mean, we're not trying to prove that he's not the man. I know that there's a classification of YouTubers out there right now, true crime YouTubers, who are seemingly trying to prove Bryan Kohberger innocent. We do not fall into that, no matter how hard people try to put us in that box.
Yeah, they want us to be that.
That's not our set of beliefs. We don't believe in condemning him or saying he's innocent until we know.
Yeah, that binary thinking where it needs to be a 1 or a 0, and those are your only options. You know what I mean? And I use this example all the time. That imagine someone gave you a 1,000-piece puzzle, right? And you only have 20 pieces. Like, okay, good luck trying to share what the picture is. You know, it's just not going to happen. I literally hope Bryan Kohberger is the guy. Every time I'm digging into this, I am thinking wholeheartedly, please make Bryan Kohberger the guy. Please make everything that we've found that is shady and doesn't make sense in this investigation somehow make sense. Like, I want to be wrong. Please tell me how the cell phone data actually can be triangulated and prove that I'm wrong. And I don't know how much I'm allowed to share of that info, but I'm 100% sure they do not have the cell phone towers to support a thorough triangulation. 100%.
Does that mean you've looked into it even more?
Yeah. Yes. So from the last time, and they're not pictures I can share. They are, internal type stuff that corporations just don't share easily. Um, Proprietary information, but there's just not enough there. There's not.
Okay.
Leaving it that vague, there is not enough towers in that area to effectively triangulate. And most people don't know this. They hear triangulate and 3, right? Actually, no. Actually, in order for it to stand in court, there needs to be 4 towers minimum. 4 towers minimum. 3 will not work. 3 is used just to triangulate. The 4th is used as quality control, QC. Otherwise, you have no case in court. None.
And I just want to say, we're going to explore all ideas. So even if an idea seems super out there and far-fetched, we're still going to talk about it here, but we'll explore supporting evidence towards that theory, which even the most wildest ideas and theories out there, conspiracy theories, have supporting evidence. And then we will explore the evidence that doesn't support it, that supports something else. And we think that's important. We think we should be able to talk about anything here at all because there's a way to talk about it. But we're going to try to look at it as unbiased as we can with our flawed human brains, as objective as we can, which I tend to mix some subjective in there. That's just who I am. But we try to look at it as objective as possible and see if information, ideas, theories are plausible. But we really want to lean more and more into the science behind these things, which is why we dug into fog data science, which is why we dig into the cell phone towers, which is why we're going to be talking about time of death and how that's determined tomorrow. Or that video is going to come out tomorrow, right?
Yep. We'll do it tomorrow.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a premiere. I don't think it needs to be. But
I think it does need to be. I think that the time of death is really, really, really important. And I think people need to understand that, how that works and how close to it they can get. So yeah, absolutely. But okay. Going back to this tiny interview, literally a couple minutes. Okay. What are some of the most profounding things they said in that interview that stood out?
It's super short. Do you want to watch it? Are we allowed to watch it?
As long as there's no music in the background, we can watch it. I mean, I can.
Because it's so short. Type in Good Morning America, Goncalves interview. Why did you just blow on the keyboard?
Because I dropped something on it earlier.
Oh. I need it fresh in my mind because we didn't play it in the premiere. So
no.
Oh yeah, that's it. Okay. They also shared pictures and videos. The Linda Lane footage, as far as I know, is 100% legit. However, we have not talked about it much on this channel because we didn't feel there was much there. Now, the car, get a clue, and Gray Hughes have dug into the car a lot. And the timing and all of that, and it's interesting. I do think that the car is very likely suspect vehicle 1, but I don't know. I'm not a car expert.
Not that there's not much there. I want to clarify because people get really mad with the Linda Lane footage.
Yeah, they do.
I am not saying there's not a lot there. What I'm saying is there is nothing, absolutely nothing there that can be used in court. It cannot be used in court. So sure, maybe you could use that footage to try to investigate and get some ideas and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the variables surrounding those cameras, with the amount of people that live in that area, with the amount of traffic, with the amount of cars, with the amount of noise, with the amount of overwhelming movement around that camera, absolutely nothing will be able to be used in a court of law because I mean, sure, they could try and bring it up, but they're going to bring it up at their own detriment because the defense will say, yeah, well, okay, show me the science that proves this has anything to do with the house. The noises. How do you know that it's not two neighbors like, you know, hooking up next door? How do you know it's not the first floor neighbor, the top floor neighbor? Like, it will never be used. So like, it makes me feel like this was given out with the intention so that people focus on this totally and completely unusable video, while the good information that actually has to do with finding justice, actually has to do with this case, and actually has to do with the trial is not being dug into. And that is the reason why I have not dug into it.
So I mean, recently Get a Clue shed a little bit more light on it, which I helped me understand a little bit better why that footage is out there, how it got out there. Jeff H also, he hops in our chat all the time, and he has done incredible work enhancing that video and audio too. Love him. You know, he's always very respectable, even if we don't agree. He's amazing. So shout out to him. And I know there's been several content creators to dig into it. Now, Get a Clue, he is the one that pointed out the only part of the Linda Lane footage that I feel like matters when it comes to the car specifically, not the noises, but the car. And that is when it's going across, like going in that loop, right in the like left corner, you see the top of the car clear as day. That is the only part where I feel like you could get an identification on that vehicle, and he believes it's a Chrysler 300, which I
do not believe. There's too many. It's too
I
bad of
understand what you're
quality,
saying.
too bad of audio, too bad of everything, with an overwhelming amount of traffic. So this footage feels like it was put out there so that one person will say, this is what it is, guys. This is what it is. And then another person can come out and say, yeah, this is what it is. And there's no way to verify ever, period. No way. So like, why am I going to argue something that we will never come to a conclusion on? I'm just not going to, you know, and I'm not discrediting anyone's work. We love Get a Clue. I love Get a Clue. I think he does great work. Anyone else that's used the Linda Lane footage, I am not putting your footage down whatsoever. It just won't be able to be used in the court case. There's just no way.
Yeah, I mean, and considering the other cameras in the neighborhood, they have far better footage, I would hope, than Linda Lane. Like, they have to have far better footage than that. But it is, I mean, it is interesting, some of the things in the Linda Lane footage, and I don't know what focusing on it would benefit.
I mean, for me, still to this day, the most interesting thing is the drug drop in that trash can. There is nobody that can make me believe that that's anything else, dude. Some car drives up, backs up, drops the window down. You see something fly out, or a hand fly out, or whatever. You know, it could be a normal drug drop, could be dope with black electrical tape wrapped around it because that's sticky enough, but not too sticky. It's going to rip stuff open and things like that. And that could have been thrown in there. There's no way we'll see it on that camera. But what that does is just proves that there is active drug behaviors going on in that general area. And the reason why I say that's important is because anywhere there is active drug dealing going on in any area, regardless if it's a nice area, a lower income area, anything like that, the crime rates are higher. And by crime rates, I mean violent crime rates are higher. So, you know, there is dope moving out there. So that there's no way someone can say, oh, these are all good people right around here. They're all going to college. There's no way they'll do that. Well, statistics say actually one out of every two people from Greek life, one out of every two men leave a fraternity addicted to alcohol or drugs. So, you know, that it's just further evidence to prove that there is some kind of drug underground there, you know.
For sure there is. There's a drug ground underground everywhere.
No, I get it. I get that can be a blanket statement, but it becomes real when you have something being able to prove that. So because anyone can say there's drugs everywhere, and you're right, but having the evidence to back that is it's super important.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
All right, so let's check this out. If it plays music, I'm gonna have to turn it off.
Michael, good morning. An incredibly emotional conversation. Kaylee's mom, they get ready for these two pivotal steps.
We're just left in limbo.
This morning, Kaylee Goncalves' parents sharing exclusively with GMA never-before-seen pictures and videos of their 21-year-old daughter.
This is a type of, you can like season with these. I can't really season with them, but you can cook with them.
Yeah, I know that's in front of the tower.
Yeah.
This is in front of the University of Idaho Tower.
The family still waiting on a full digital copy of Kaylee's phone from authorities.
These are the last moments of your child's life, and you're sitting here fighting with somebody who just doesn't care.
They were able to collect some of Kaylee.
Yeah, if Goncalves listened to our show, if you need somebody to get their data, you know, just give me a ring. I can get it.
Kaylee's belongings from the university over the summer, which raised concerns for them about how well possible evidence was processed, including a trash can from Kaylee's room that was full and appeared untouched.
We opened it. It was a little squeezy applesauce thing like you would give to like a toddler. It did not appear to have been gone through.
Police saying they had gathered more than 100 pieces of physical evidence from the scene, along with some 4,000 photos and 3D scans of the residence.
Just to be clear, that is less than half of the number that they claimed they had for photos. So that's interesting. And I have the evidence of that if anyone questions, but I don't have it pulled up right now. But for a long time, they were saying 9,000 photos with over 10,000 pieces of evidence altogether. So why there is now around 4,000, like are they cycling through what's usable and what's not now, since they had shipped, you know, the full 10,000 over to the defense? I don't know, but these numbers are like off, you know. And it's interesting, they're now using 100 plus when in reality they have 113 pieces of physical evidence for the entire case.
Okay, so you know what's really interesting is when I forgot to mention this. You remember I told you I was digging through the original press releases that the Moscow PD put out, like the just written statements, not like the press conference, the press releases where they would release, this is what we're doing in the investigation. And it's just online, like you can read it. But originally, when they stated how many pieces of physical evidence they got from the house, they stated 103.
Yeah.
And then they said they dug into the dumpsters, and after that, the number changed to 113. 103 from the home. And I'm assuming here, I am just assuming, because of how the numbers changed, and after they dug through the dumpsters, it changed to 113. 10 from the dumpsters, 3 different dumpsters.
See, I heard it's 113 total. That includes Bryan Kohberger's apartment.
It doesn't.
Includes everything but his car, is what
the 113 number came before Bryan Kohberger was a suspect.
Okay.
So it is 113 for the crime scene.
103 was before, and then 113 after Kohberger.
No,
but I could be wrong.
We have an itemized list from the Pennsylvania stuff and from Washington, and it is more than that. Like
I mean, it's barely anything.
No, but I'm saying that number, the 113, was released before Bryan Kohberger was ever a suspect. And then we got these itemized lists from their search warrants there. So it's more, like, I haven't calculated exactly how much it is for the entire investigation, but it is more.
It's barely anything, though.
I agree. It's
even
not
from
enough.
his house, it's barely anything. And what's interesting is what I would expect to see as barely anything if Bryan Kohberger's innocent. And again, just to be completely transparent, we aren't trying to fight for his innocence. I don't care if he's innocent or guilty. Right now, we are auditing the investigation, and that will come at a later date. But I would expect if he is innocent, like many people, believe he is, there would be minimal physical evidence gathered from his house.
You know, one interesting thing I will say, you guys, when speaking about Maddie's room, I found it interesting that the Goncalves family said it was so small that it was essentially just a bed and like that's it. Well, I actually recently saw a picture of Maddie's room, and it's the room. It is the room. And she's standing between the bed and the closet. It looks bigger than that. Like, it doesn't look much bigger. Okay, I'm not saying it's a big room, but it is a little bit bigger than that. Like,
okay, a queen size bed is 60 inches in width. Now I need to look at what the size of a bed is for a Ford pickup. And I think that was a 2018.
so there was enough space for her to comfortably move between the closet and the bed. Like, it wasn't so tight that you're like squeezing in and out of there. But I do understand, like, maybe the door right there, maybe it did scrape the end of the bed, but it still looked like she had room for a desk at the foot of the bed. So I think there was a little bit more room than that. It's just like the bed and the door were really close to each other, is what it seems like to me.
Okay, so they are 5. So yeah, so I'm telling you that picture we showed in our video, I think it is a queen bed. There were some people that were questioning whether it was a queen bed or not. Here, let me find it real quick, you guys. Just because I want to share this information. So what I just looked up is what the average size of a Ford truck bed is, and I picked 4 years to look through, and all of them roughly are between 5.5 feet in width and 6.5 feet in width, which would effectively put it at 66 inches to 66 inches to 78 inches wide. Now, a queen size bed in width is 60 inches. I'm sorry. A queen size bed in width is 60 inches. So it should fit in the back of a truck with at least 6 inches of space on either side, but take up most of it. It would take up most of it for sure. So
I'm pretty sure you passed it. I saw it. It's like way back there.
I mean, it's not that far in. There. Okay, so yeah, I think this is a queen.
I agree. I believe it is a queen because Maddie's bed is the same exact size as Xana's bed, as you can see in the photograph. And there's also a video of them carrying these mattresses to the trucks. I believe they're both queens, or at least a full.
Yeah.
Either full or queen.
I think that is
a double,
queen.
which I think is a full. I really believe that based off of seeing them carry them out.
Yeah, so 60 inches is what? Is that 5 feet exactly? So 60 divided by 12. Yeah, 5 feet. Yep. So that from here to here looks like 5 feet to me. I mean, look at this step stool, you guys.
Look, we need to look back at the video.
Look at this step stool. You know what I mean? That step stool is at least 3 feet, and you still have that whole bunch right here. So not that those details are important. I don't think they are important. However, this truck bed right here is between 5.5 feet and 6.5 feet. So It's not worth going into. It doesn't have anything to do with this.
Okay.
Yeah. But okay, here. We'll play the rest of this.
Still, frustration mounting for the family over what they consider a lack of communication and a rush to tear down the home on King Road. Christy describes for the first time how Kaylee was found.
It's my understanding Kaylee was kind of sitting up
Yes.
and had fought.
Yeah. And the way that room's put together, if you come through that door, you can't get out of that room.
Completely, totally trapped.
Yeah. You're in a bed.
Tiny room. The bed was the entire room. You could barely open up the door without swiping the foot of the bed. And it was wall. You know, the headboard was up against the wall. The side where Kaylee was on was up against the wall. And if you can imagine Kaylee in an upright sort of position up in the corner, slumped. I mean, she was trapped.
The home on King Road was torn down in the pre-dawn hours of December 28th.
Now, the first of the two hearings today is closed to the public. The judge is also holding a schedule.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would just suggest going back and looking at the video of the mattresses being carried out, because I think it's pretty clear they're both full size, but
Full? They are not. They're queens.
or queen, whatever, either one. I mean, that's like queen and full are super similar in size.
I think a foot difference in width.
Whatever. Similar
So-
to me. It's like they're the in-between sizes between a twin and a king.
So a queen is 60 inches wide, which is 5 feet. A full is 54 inches. The 60-inch is what, 5 feet? Yeah, so a difference of 6 inches in width. So, but I think that is really important when we're talking about how yeah, I see a lot of people thinking that it's still a full. I mean, you guys can look, but
Okay, the queen or full to me doesn't matter. It's just the fact that it's not a twin, meaning two people could sleep in it and have enough room, because if it's a twin, they literally have to be like spooning each
dude,
other.
it's a queen. It's a queen for sure. And I think that's important when you're trying to come up with a recreation of the crime. So when you go back and look at it, like I just looked at that video, it's clearly 5 feet. Those men are probably your average sized men, which would be between 5'9" and 6'2", you know, with a difference of 5 inches or whatever. And that bed absolutely looks like that. Plus, I think that the fact that it fits inside the bed with not much room on either side is exactly what I would expect to see. Most truck beds, and depending on how big of a truck it is, depending on how big of a truck it is going to be between 5.5 feet and 6.5 feet. Those are average size trucks, not the larger editions or whatever. One's a Chevy, it looks like, and one's a Ford. And there's no gap on the side of those. So I'm sticking to queen, but figure it out for your guys self. We can post that video, or you can just search on YouTube mattresses removed from the Idaho 4 house. But what's interesting is when I'm looking at that and when I'm considering this new information, I immediately go through. I'm not going to pull it up. I don't want to get too caught up on that, you guys. Just search it and look it up. That's one of those minute details I feel like it's not worth obsessing over. But it's important because where was Kaylee when the crime took place? Was this a position that she was attacked in? Or was this a position she pulled herself into after the attack happened?
Right. But look, I wanted to show you that.
What? Well, you got to pull it up now.
Okay.
Can't show me something and not show everyone.
Okay, sorry. But what did you ask me so I can answer you while I'm giving this to you?
I said that I don't remember.
Sorry.
But so I think it's important because I think we're going to be able to get a better understanding of how tall somebody was to be able to do that, because there's only a couple ways to be able to get to her if she's all the way up in the corner. And that is somebody who has the reach to then lean over into the bed, or they were literally on the bed, on top of the bed. That's been one of my questions from the very beginning is, if either pairs were awake, how would one person manage two people? It's absolutely doable. I'm not saying it's not doable, but it's doable with an explanation. You got to understand how they did that effectively. Did they walk in while both were asleep and take care of one person quickly while the other? I don't know. But with this new bit of information, it's interesting to think about how that could have happened. It's also interesting to think about that if somebody had to lean over the bed to get the second person, is it more likely that's when the sheath would have been dropped? Because the sheath wasn't on a belt, it was in a hand maybe, right? And if you're grasping something and you go to lean over the bed while holding on to this and you're reaching, I think it's more likely it could be dropped, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that makes it more likely to be dropped. I know there's been a lot of speculation from people because we know that there's K-bars in the area. We've seen frat members holding them in pictures. We've seen a knife throwing place where people have K-bars. There's several instances of pictures with people with K-bars in the area that are associated close enough to these people that you wonder, like, I guess there's a lot of hunters in that area, which could be why. People wondered if that knife sheath was already there, but there's no knife. So I assume no. I do assume that the knife sheath was left there by whoever committed the crime, as
what does this show?
The other picture too. They're just both of her in the room. And we're looking at how big this room is. The parents claim that the room...
Gosh, that doesn't show nothing, though.
I understand, but it shows the bed and it shows the area of the room.
Yeah.
That is not so small that the bed is the whole room and that's it.
Oh, I think it is. I would consider that.
It is very small.
Look at if you look at hang on, guys. I'm sharing it. Hang on. Okay. If you look at this, I believe this side table is actually from, is that Nike a side table? I don't know. Anyways, that is like at most 20 inches. I think it's smaller.
Can you
than
zoom
20
in a little
inches.
bit?
I think that.
Does it let you?
Yeah, this is a very, very, very small side table. And if you look, there's like 2 inches here and 2 inches here. So I think that bed takes up the whole room, literally the entire room.
Yeah, it does take up most of the room. That's true. But it's not so small that she has no room to move at all. Now, it's not a giant bedroom like we see in, some newer homes. Like usually it's older homes that have rooms that are that small. Newer homes will have like a lot more room than that. So I get what they're saying with like being trapped in there. But
well, it's important to remember too that like there's a lot of houses out there where this would be considered a standard sized room if
Yeah.
it's not the suite room, the main room, whatever. And it depends on how big your bed is, how much room you're going to have in there. Now, if this was a queen room, you're immediately taking 5 feet off
Yeah.
right away, you know, right away. So, I think that adds to the possibility of it being a larger bed too, which again is really, really, really interesting to think about because of how many people consider that bed size based off the recreation of the house. What are you doing?
Talking. Hold on.
Based off the recreation of the house. So, okay. Go say something. But
but when you look at the vanity picture, which I'm going to have you pull up next, that's the only thing that makes me question, like, because it does seem like there's quite a bit more room than you get the impression of in this picture. The fact that at the foot of the bed she has enough room, like over in that corner, to have a vanity. Now I mean, I would have to look back at the floor plan to see like how much room that actually is, but did the floor plan give measurements? It did, didn't it?
yeah, I just don't know.
Oh, this deserves a whole video, you guys.
Yeah, it's not worth going into.
No.
We're getting like super sidetracked when we're trying to talk about the how this impacts the trial, where I'm just not here trying to prove the size of the bed. That's not important. I just think it's interesting because the electronic recreation of the house has changed people's perceptions to believe that it is this smaller bed. How did these guys fit on here, and how, you know, did it make it easier for the criminal, you know what I mean, the person who was in there? And you know, I think I didn't see the chat, but real quick, you guys, if you're not going to say something, then I'm going to. But I didn't see what was said, but there are no threats allowed. So any threat, I don't care if you're threatening to speak bad about someone, threatening to go to someone's house, anything, any threats, that is bullying and not allowed. That's just not how you have a conversation. That's not how you stay objective. That's not how you expand your knowledge and grow as a human being. So just no threats, period. I don't even care what the topic is. If we see it again, we'll just remove people, you know, because it's super standoffish. It is super offensive. And even if it is not meant that way, remember, through text, you guys, somebody can't hear your tone. So if you're saying it in satire, joking around like, ha, 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 wait till I get you, you know what I mean? That gets lost in text. So let's just no threat at all. So I just didn't see the message. You did. So
Yeah, I just want to say that we're trying to have an environment, and I was trying to run it by him without like, you know, dedicating a whole part of the show to it. We want an environment where everybody can get along, collaborate, not, you know, be hostile. So you know, we really appreciate all of you guys, but just keep it respectful. And hey, AR Hayes, you guys, I'm sure all already know who he is. He's becoming a very well-known name in the community because of his incredible, insightful conversations, you know, that he has on his videos and his live streams. He does a really good job, you know, going into, he does a like similar kind of what we do with, you know, just throwing ideas out there, giving you something to think about. about the possibilities. And I always leave his videos thinking, which is, to me, a job very well done. There are true crime creators I go to for facts, facts and, information. But what is more valuable to me is the thought provoking, the critical thinking, and he does it very, very, very well. So shout out to him. If you haven't checked him out, definitely do. It's A Convict's Thoughts with A.R. Hayes. He's in the chat right now, chatting it up. He's a great supporter of ours, and we love to support him when we can.
Yeah, welcome, AR. When I said I don't when she was talking, I was meaning facts around content creators. I just think that ever since we talked about that topic of, what is a fact, what is a law, what is a theory, what is a hypothesis, it just more and more when I'm watching content, and I already have no time to watch content, but when I do watch content, it just helped me understand just how subjective in nature people's facts are, and that's okay. But I think that's why everyone leans into the fact that it's not true if there's receipts. And great motto, absolutely great motto. It doesn't matter what somebody says. So this whole idea of, oh, you need to say theory before you share this information. No, actually, we don't need to say theory before we share information, because technically every single statement is an opinion. Every single thing said by every single person is an opinion, except when there is proof to back something up. That's when something goes from a fact, a personal fact and hypothesis, into a theory, and a theory is a well-supported fact. But anyways, going back to the interview, so I think it's important to mention that a lot of people have a lot of mixed feelings about the Goncalveses.
Yeah, they do. Sorry, my hair is like driving me crazy. And I know it drives some people crazy when I mess with my hair. So sorry, but not sorry, because it has to not drive me crazy first. But anyway, I know they do. And I can see why. I can see why people have questions about them, specifically Steve, because he has made comments and then walked it back. All I can say is I have a lot of empathy for this family because of what they're going through. There's a gag order on the case. They were iced out from the information. And I can,
like, from the beginning.
Yeah,
dude.
They were iced out, you guys. So they hired a PI, they started trying to get that information themselves. And their daughter, Olivia, they became their own little investigative team, essentially. And I have respect for them in doing that. They care about justice for their daughter, even if we don't always agree with the way they're going about it. I don't feel like it's my place to judge them for that. I mean, I can only imagine if something like that happened to me, I would probably end up in jail. You know what I mean? I would trying to get information and going after whoever did this to try to get them behind bars. To be honest,
get caught.
Yeah, he's too smart to get caught.
No, I don't think I'm smart. That
whoever did this crime thought they were too smart too.
I don't believe in like smartness IQ. I just think there's learned knowledge. That's it. That's all that matters, is learned knowledge. But we cover true crime.
Anyway, I like I said, I don't feel like it's my place or anybody's place to judge them for the way they've went about this. However, it is okay to question the information they're presenting. Because yes, he's made some statements and he's walked it back, and he's made statements that people question, like they can't be valid. They're biased. They are the most biased source of information you could get information from because of how connected they are to this case. And that's okay. That's okay. That it's your responsibility to recognize that. And recognize I am getting biased information because this is the family that is directly connected with this case and has intense emotions and investment. Like, everything in their life is riding on this case going to trial. That's why they want a trial so quickly, because their lives are in limbo. That's what this interview was about. They're living in limbo. Like, we can't move away because then we won't be nearby to make it to the trial. We have to make sure all of our vacation time from work is planned so that we can spend it on going to this trial, which means they can't take regular vacation time. Their vacation time for the whole year is going to be on going to hearings.
My suggestion to them is move away. Get away from it, man. That's what I suggest to them. If I was them, because look, if we're looking at this thing objectively, right, moving away from the case and only being there on video, if that's better for your sanity, like I'm a firm believer that life continues on after death. All right. And I'm just going to leave it with that so we don't get into the spiritual conversation, which can be highly political too. So and I just spit all over. So the person that they lost wouldn't want them to be stuck in the way that can happen to these parents. And I agree with you. I have a ton of respect for them. And I think that we are watching them go through their trauma firsthand in the news. And it's important to remember that we're all wrong. We are human beings, and we're all going to be wrong all the time, always, for our entire lives. That's just how it is. It doesn't make somebody less of a person when we're watching them handle themselves in this way. Part of the reason I think they want to keep coming on and doing interviews is it continues to keep the memory of their daughter alive, like the way that they're sharing pictures.
Yep.
And I think that's great. I think that's phenomenal. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And in my opinion, I think the police could offer some information if they're there doing their job, because remember, their job is protect and serve. I understand they have to follow the guidance of the federal whatever that's called, the stipulations around law enforcement. And I hear you, but I think there is a way to find that middle ground. I've known tons of police officers in my life, and they have found ways to find that middle ground there. It doesn't make me think any less of Steve Goncalves, and I think that we should be understanding for them. I'm trying to be understanding, not that you need to be understanding for them, but I try and be understanding with all the information that's coming out, with the understanding of what we were just talking about, with the fact that facts are only ultimate truths once there is evidence backing that. Otherwise, just because it's his daughter doesn't mean I'm going to believe the things that come out of his mouth. He's just as likely of being right as anybody else is out there. And to be honest, another reason I respect Steve a lot, regardless of whether it's for his own selfish reasons, which I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean to keep his daughter's memory alive, or it's with the intention of trying to be open with the people in general, is he's come out, and anything that he has, like information he has, he shares it. I think that is phenomenal. That is amazing. That's great. But it's kind of strange that we're getting more information from him than we should be getting in a public investigation. I've never believed in this gag order. I've never believed in sealing every single document. I just don't believe in that.
Well,
I think it's a bunch of buffoonery, unless it's at the risk of our nation's safety.
Yeah.
In this case, isn't.
Shout out the member and the membership gift, and then I'll say what I was going to say.
Yes. All right. Doodlebug Fart, super happy to have you join as a new member. We're super stoked to have you here, and hope you're having a good time. Hope you're enjoying the conversation, and we'd love to continue hearing your opinions and information and facts and theories and everything in between. So welcome, my friend, to the Thought Riot community.
Yes.
And then we have Marietta gifting another Thought Riot podcast membership. That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I was trying to debate today, should I give out the memberships now, or should I start doing it towards the middle of the month? I think I'm going to start aiming for the middle of the month. But anyways, we appreciate you, and we're super stoked to have you here. And every time that you give out a membership, so thank you, thank you,
and thanks. You hooked up. You create your own Karma, which is a great person to have as a member because you're always in here saying awesome things. Like for real, you have some really good insight a lot of times. So
yes,
that was a good hookup. But what was I gonna say now? Oh, I tried to remember it that whole time. What were you saying? And then I forgot, literally.
I think before we stopped, I was just talking about how nice I think it is that Steve wants to come out and share information.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in the gag order and don't believe in sealing documents unless it's at the risk of our country.
Right. So here's a case that I find interesting, and I don't know if it's because she wasn't arrested right away, but I've been following the Courtney Clenny case, and that is the OnlyFans model who murdered her boyfriend in Florida. We covered her case like was it a year ago now? It's been a while. And they put out the interview. Do you remember when she's like covered in blood? They put out the police footage of the interrogation of her and how they were talking to her. And at the time, she thought her boyfriend was still alive. And then they drop that on her and they're like, he's dead. He's gone. And he died in the hospital. And they're like, you know, seeing her reaction, everything. And we saw all the pictures of her covered in blood. And we have tons of footage of their fights. And the fights are horrible between them. Like, because it's footage from his phone. Like he started documenting the abuse and the fights between them. There's a ton of information out on that case. You know, you have body cam footage from the Dowerman, the murders where the guy, you know, shot his kids. Like there's so many cases like Chris Watts, that interrogation footage was let out right away. So it makes me question. Yeah, and 911 calls. Like there's so much 911 calls, interrogation footage, actual evidence that will be used in court, like footage from the victims' phones. All of this stuff is out there, and it's out there so fast. But in this case, even after the suspect was arrested, we got nothing.
Yeah.
And the families didn't either. So I mean, as far as we know, most of what they have is what they sought out.
Yeah, I don't think people understand how weird that is. I hear a lot of people talk about it in passing, and I don't think it matters if you believe Bryan Kohberger is innocent or you believe he's guilty, or you are like us and you're in the in-between. But that is a major, like I can't even say enough majors to explain how weird that is in this case. It absolutely, great point, Annie. It absolutely breeds misinformation. It absolutely allows the general public to share incorrect stuff. And some people do it intentionally, some people do it unintentionally. And I think it's all important to remember that, and why I said what I said a little bit ago about people and their facts, right? Everybody's going to have facts, and everything is true in your own world from behind your own two eyes. And that doesn't make it not true, but that also doesn't make it true for somebody else. The only way something is actual factual proven is with evidence to back it. And by shutting this case down, they did the exact opposite. And by now in 2023, I don't think that was a surprise.
I mean, Now, the Corny Clinic case is getting a lot of attention. So did the Dowerman case, but they didn't receive the amount of attention this is getting. This got the amount of attention it did because of obviously the nature of the crime, the victims and who they are, and also the fact that there was no suspect for a month. So you had the public, especially the true crime community, become very invested, and a lot of sleuths out there trying to assist the police in finding the killer. Now, I think it makes sense why they didn't allow a ton out there during that time. Like, there should be things kept close to the vest. However, I do not understand not giving a picture of the car to help people identify it.
I agree.
I don't understand why not release the 911 call. I don't
agree.
understand why so many things were kept close to the vest and we weren't allowed to know much at all. And furthermore, I don't understand why nothing came out after he was arrested and there was a gag put on the case immediately. Don't understand that. Usually, from what I've seen in cases, the gag doesn't come that quick. It doesn't come, it's quick. It's usually after they've had a few hearings in court, but this was real quick. And I think that happened because they were afraid of the attention this was getting in the media.
Do you think that's it? Or do you think that, look, and this is the reason I knew we were going to get on this topic with Scott Green, but, you know, there are so many videos that we've talked about Scott Green. I have done my absolute best to stay unbiased when it's came to that man's decisions. However, I do not agree with them. I think that he was absolutely too overbearing. I think that anytime you have a police force that is meeting every single morning to update the university president on a state capitol investigation and case, there are problems here. I don't know why a university president needs to be in a single meeting, not one meeting. You need to let him know what's going on so that you can keep the safety of the college students while you investigate the crime. And then you can let him know once you've come to the conclusion of that investigation of what's going on. Any of those other meetings in between, there is something wrong there, okay? And now we have questioned over and over and over and over and over and over. Why was this investigation so inexperienced, immature, a mess? You know, is it because they're worried about this meeting with Green and being directed in the direction that Scott Green needed it to go to best serve his needs and the schools? Because one thing I'm seeing here is we're seeing Scott Green maximize on the attention of this. So where did that gag order and sealing of all documents come from? You know, I would love to know that. I would love to know where that idea came from.
Do you think
because I don't believe it was to try and control a narrative while they try and find a suspect. I don't believe that. Because otherwise it wouldn't keep continuing. Like,
do you think there's a possibility? Because you know how in the Dr. Moore case, informant.
Yeah, so a lot of people out there believe that there's a possibility of a couple people being an informant. Either one of the victims was an informant, and that's actually how the house got targeted, or Bryan Kohberger was an informant. Because remember, a lot of people forget this information, but all those FBI agents that were in that area were there because of a different investigation into one of the biggest drug busts and drug rings of the area of the US. The entire state of Washington had the biggest drug bust period. So is there some kind of other federal investigation going on, and that is the true reason for this gag order? I think those are good questions. I think it's really good questions because it doesn't make sense what's going on here. However, if that is the case, that doesn't make sense why Scott Green is in every conversation, unless that federal investigation is a drug investigation and is being ran through that school.
Well, if Bryan Kohberger was an informant, that could help bridge the gap in people questioning why, if Bryan Kohberger has been framed, which I want to mention real quick.
Good point.
I want to mention real quick, okay? And this is very important, you guys, because I have heard many people try to discredit the idea of a frame job, a frame up, by saying, why would the police do that? What's the connection? Why Bryan Kohberger? And because they can't answer those questions, they just say, okay, then a frame up isn't possible in their own opinion, which you cannot, you can't disprove a theory with your own opinions and inability to answer the question why. Why did this happen? Just because you can't answer why does not disqualify that theory. Just like a lack of information doesn't make it so. A lack of evidence does not mean that that is not possible.
Right.
That just means you don't have evidence.
A good example is the tunnel.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of people out there who believe Bryan Kohberger is innocent. There's a lot of people who believe he's guilty. There's a lot of people who don't know, that are actively fighting against the idea that there is a tunnel there. Okay. Now, a lot of the arguments that come up is, okay, yeah, so there's a tunnel there. Okay, well, show me evidence that there's a tunnel there. And I've heard this from so many creators, you guys, literally a ton, like more than 10 creators. But while a tunnel might have to do with this, or it might not, it doesn't matter, all right? If we're just simply talking about the tunnel, separate from the Idaho 4 case, a lack of evidence doesn't make it more likely that it's false. It's still at a median. You know what I mean? It's just as likely it can be true as it is that it's false. It just means there's no evidence of such either way yet. But yeah, just to give an example.
Yeah, while I don't think drugs were the reason for the killings, that doesn't mean people weren't using drugs. It just may not be a reason that this happened.
Yeah, like we said in the beginning.
But what I wanted to say is, because people ask those questions why and they can't come up with a reason, which I ask you, I implore you to go find cases where frame jobs have happened, and it's factual. We know that they happened, and try to figure out why the cops did it, because I'm perplexed every time I see a frame job. I don't have a why. Why do they do it? I don't know.
I mean, there's like
money.
4
There's
in
many.
Idaho.
There's many cases of frame jobs where you're like, why? And a lot of times it comes down to money. It comes down to it comes down to incompetence. It comes down to wanting their close rates, not wanting a cold case, wanting convictions, a lot of reasons. Okay. There's a lot of factors when it comes to that. None of them seem good enough to ruin somebody's life, but okay. So just because you can answer why doesn't mean it's not possible. And you can't discredit a theory because of your opinion. You have to use facts. You have to use evidence. You have to use science. But I wanted to say that framed does not mean intentional. Somebody can be framed unintentionally.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just because they're trying to cover another mistake. So the goal could be to convict somebody, anybody, to cover a mistake. Now, one other thing too, you guys, I meant to give a shout out, but I wanted to give another shout out to Murder Metal Mayhem. We covered them as our
Are you sharing it?
As our spotlight a couple weeks ago, and you know, they just gave us another shout out. And the reason why I thought about this, because you're talking about cases where they frame somebody. Well, Murder Metal Mayhem was talking about the Dr. Moore case, and that is a real life case in Idaho where somebody got framed, and it actually was by officers that were very key officers in the Idaho 4 investigation. So it's a really great example of why, and we come down to this a lot, that why, and I feel like it's very easy in law enforcement to get this idea that, I guess, put it this way, and this is something I'm guilty of too, you guys, that I have to try and constantly check myself on. But I live in statistical probabilities. Like, that is my comfort zone. Is, if you want to talk dirty to me, just speak statistics to me. You know what I mean? But I live there, and cops do too. And they get their investigations start looking like they're through a keyhole with those statistics. And what I mean by that is, like, with a couple, if the woman goes missing, they almost always pressure and look at the guy. And there's good reason for that. Like, they should be doing that, because statistically speaking, that guy is the most likely suspect.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I want to break it down, like, in a very basic way, to why I think that leaning into statistics is a good thing. What's interesting is, statistically speaking, Bryan Kohberger wouldn't fit the bill on the Idaho 4 case. He is outside of the statistics. And I think the character assassination is trying to do everything it can to make him fit that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like that, because early on in the crime, there were many FBI profilers coming out and saying the type of person that would commit this crime, saying they would hate women, that they could possibly be an incel, kind of person who doesn't like
and
women.
And then there he is in the front row with his book.
Yeah, a feminist. She doesn't. Okay, I just want to say, I say feminist writer, but she does not claim feminism. But the woman who wrote the Handmaid's Tale book, he went to that book reading or whatever it's called with her book signing. He supposedly got his book signed by her. And she's pro-female, but not a feminist. However, we have pictures of him there. That picture, actually, of him sitting in that chair is what I used in our video as the thumbnail for the interrogation room. And I love that edit. I had to pat myself on the back, because it looks like he's literally in an interrogation room. I just really like that picture. But anyway,
yeah, did I not shout out Murder Metal Mayhem? Did I go on a big rant and never even say the name? But shout out to Murder
you did
Metal
say shout
Mayhem.
out to them.
Okay.
Their YouTube channel's great, but yeah, we did a creator spotlight on them, which should be in one of the podcasts. Is that podcast already come out? Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'm getting off track, and I'm gonna start forgetting my track, my train of thought. Anyway, police do intentionally frame people, Mike. They absolutely do, but there are unintentional framings. In the Dr. Moore case specifically, I believe that could have been intentional. And so what I feel like happened, though I don't know, just based off of the information we have from the court documents, is I feel like the wife, Dr. Drake is the victim. His wife sets off red flags for me. And I feel like it's very possible that she is the one who had the intention of framing Dr. Moore in the beginning, because she is the one who told police she believed it was Dr. Moore. And then they took that and they ran with it to the point of fabricating, changing evidence, and literally framing him. So they may have thought he really did it, but then looking at evidence thought, oh my gosh, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. And then change things to make it fit him. My question is, in this case specifically, in the Idaho 4 murders, and that's a fact, you guys, every time people explore the idea of a frame job and are biased and intentionally making it so that all of their opinions are somehow disproving the theory of a frame job, and they're not using any unbiased objective evidence, and they're just using their opinions to try to disprove it by asking why. Well, there's no reason, so it didn't happen. They never look at Dr. Moore. They never mention Dr. Moore because it doesn't support their ideas. It's an echo chamber. There's no point in even bringing up Dr. Moore. I don't know why. Like, Dr. Moore is vital when you're looking at the possibility of corruption in this case, because it's proof of officers directly involved in the Idaho 4 case, in the investigation, being corrupt. They did do something corrupt. They framed somebody. So when we look at the Idaho 4 case, it makes you wonder, with the fact that they were using people who were not investigators, people who had financial gain invested into the solving of this case, being consulted daily, having briefings where they're talking about evidence and the direction of this investigation, is worrisome. Scott Green has a vested interest in this case being solved. His university relies, and let me tell you, Scott Green was a non-traditional choice. Specifically, the reason he was chosen to be the president of the university was because of the issues in marketing and the issues with past problems they've had, like that sports guy, essaying a girl and the university not doing anything about it, a past murder case of a professor involved with a student and killing her. So
they wanted someone who could effectively shut down these stories from getting
they wanted somebody
out.
Who is good at marketing, could shut down issues like this in the media, and who could turn around their financial issues because they were having bad financial issues.
And
which
now
is
he's
why,
like, look at me.
right,
Literally.
which is why we're seeing him doing the University of Phoenix buy, which is why we're seeing him put out a book and, I believe, tearing down the house. Like, there's a lot of choices he made there that are business decisions. And this man was being briefed every day, or at least multiple times a week, on the direction of the investigation from the beginning. That is a problem. That is a problem, because then he has some say. He can sway their opinions. He can give them tips. He can be involved in the investigation when he should not be, because he has financial interest. He is biased.
That's awesome. Phil said, by the way, you guys get mentioned on all the leading true crime and law tube channels. I hear it a lot lately. That's really awesome. And
we do.
If someone has mentioned us, let us know you did, because there's so many true crime creators out there, and one of our goals on our channel when we created it is to unbiased share other content creators, because in my opinion, I do not believe in fighting for views. Like, I'm not going to fight another creator for views.
No.
There are hundreds of billions of views out there, and there's so many, there's no need to fight for them. We can all live and all create great channels together. So even people that, in my opinion, have issues with some of our content and stuff like that, I'm still going to shout them out and be nice. So if somebody did shout us out and we didn't catch it, I would love to return the favor, so
yeah, for
let
sure.
us know.
So I also wanted to say, I don't know what the truth is because I haven't seen the numbers myself, but I know that initially we thought enrollment went down after the murders, but now there's evidence of it going up.
No, it went down. It went down. People get that mixed up all the time.
Yeah, but I thought it was looked at overall.
No.
And it did go up.
No, it absolutely went down. What people are trying to do is compare the winter enrollment to the spring enrollment. Now, the spring enrollment traditionally has like 70% of the enrollment stats for the year. If I'm remembering correct, I believe it's 70%. So the only way that you can look at the enrollment rate is doing year over year. Okay, so you have to look at spring year over year. So you would look at spring of this year versus spring of last year, because if you look at winter's enrollment versus spring, shoot, you can pull up any school and look at that and it will always be up. But you have to look at spring LY versus spring TY, spring last year versus spring this year. Sorry.
Are you sure? Because I saw a lot of people said they looked at that and it went up.
Positive. I did the math myself. So the only other thing that could have happened is if you're looking annually, but then you have to take the year pre-crime versus post-crime. So you need one full year pre-crime to one full year post-crime. When you're looking at spring's enrollment versus the year prior spring, it was down over 30%. I did the math myself. I don't have the numbers pulled up in front of me, but I did it myself. So 100% for sure. So I'm not sure what people are measuring. Like I said, if you are measuring it in a different way, you can let me know. But it was absolutely down, and it was down by a lot.
Measured August to August, and it went up.
August what to August what though?
Well, I'm assuming August pre-crime, August post-crime.
Okay, now
like what else numbers would you measure?
Okay. Now, did you guys figure in the addition of COVID?
Huh?
You have to take in, so when you're running statistics, you have to not only figure out the statistical percentages of year over year versus the national averages of the statistical increases. It all of that matters, all of it.
Well, I think you should do a video explaining it all.
I'll do it. I'll do it again. I have the numbers. I didn't run it the entire year. I did spring enrollment versus year over year spring enrollment.
Okay, we'll just dive more into that at a later date. But
therefore, like what I mean, just real quick, therefore, if we see more people coming back to school because the economy was taking a hit out of COVID, and it's still not back to where it was right now, right this second, it is not back to where it was. That goes into the national figures of enrollment increases. So then you have to look at the national increase of enrollment figures. So if the national increase is 5% increased, but then you have this school, which is 3% increase, then you don't actually have an increase also. All that has to be taken into account. All of it. So if the national average...
But why would you include the national average when we're just looking at this school?
What do you mean?
Because people just want to know, like, did they have a decrease or did they have an increase from last year to this year? Like, what does the national average matter?
I'll do a video.
Yeah,
on it.
You should.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Just leave. Just no.
Because there's multiple figures that you have to take into consideration when you're trying to look into that. However, no, I'm never right. But you already know that, J Ray. Stop trying to troll. But so when you're looking at spring term, spring of after the crime, the spring enrollment versus the spring enrollment of the year prior, which is the biggest enrollment of any school, is the spring enrollment. It was down over, I don't know if it was just over 30% or just over 20%, but it was a lot, like a lot. It was very down.
Okay, that's great and everything, but I don't think that this is like, I think you need to bring all of it to be able to show why you believe that. why you have these calculations, why it's even important to include the national statistic, because I don't understand that at all. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I will.
so just
I'll do a video on it after I actually have the
But
numbers in front of me.
regardless, that doesn't matter to what I was saying before. What I was saying before is that Green is trying to present it like he has improved the school, period. Like,
I think
you
he
know,
has when you're talking
well,
financially.
but my point is yeah, he has improved it. He
Yeah.
has done a good job by all accounts, improving the enrollment rates, increasing the marketing, and helping deal with all of the past transgressions and issues, like the whole thing they were going to put in Boise. Because the University of Idaho, when it came to the state, was looked down on and not trusted.
Okay, so if we're talking about that, he hasn't increased that. When I said he has improved the school, I am talking specifically in measurable metrics of financial stability.
Okay, so when it came to apparently, which I told you guys I was reading his book, which I'll do a whole case on this. But when he was going to become their president, okay, he wasn't president yet. He had people supposedly reach out to him asking him to be the president because they thought he would be a good choice because of his experience in business and finances. And they mentioned a deal where they were going to open up like a satellite, something, I forget what it was about, in Boise of the University of Idaho. The University of Idaho wanted to have more of a presence in Boise. And that deal went bad. And apparently that deal going bad soured the image of the university in state officials' minds and the other university, and just the whole image of that university.
Be clear, told by him.
Correct. And
Right.
also the issues with the professor murder and not handling the essay well. And a lot of things. And also the presidents before Green were in and out. They were using it as a stepping stone to move up in their career, according to him.
Yeah.
And that was leaving, the president seat like a revolving door, and then without like a true leader and everything, which he's explaining why he was the perfect fit, basically. And giving himself a pat on the back on how much he has improved the university.
He literally did a book signing, bro.
He did many book signings.
Yeah, at the school.
Yeah,
that is.
But my only point is,
my God,
every decision since this crime and before the crime have all been business decisions. He's very, 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 very business minded, which doesn't mean necessarily he is a bad person or anything. That's not what I'm trying to cast judgment on. It's that, can we trust him being a part of the investigation and having briefings, and his bias and his, investment into the case?
I don't even think that should come into it, because
so do you think that
nobody should have been a part? It has nothing to do with whether I trust him or not. I don't trust anybody. I don't think if you're not a trained professional in law enforcement and investigative tactics and research, why are you a part of it? The more hands that are in there, the more likely there's going to be problems. So why? I don't even care that it's Scott Green. Scott Green just made really awful decisions that make him look really ridiculous. But you can put anyone in that president's seat. Nobody should have been a part of it. Nobody.
I agree with you.
You're not law
nobody
enforcement. Why are you, a business, a local business, a part of this? Just because you're a bigger business than a mom and pop coffee shop, it's the same kind of thing.
So I think they were including Scott Green because these were students, and because
I could give you a million reasons why you could include someone.
Yeah, but why? Okay, but the point is that there was a bunch of decisions made afterwards about student safety and all of this stuff. So I assume he was included because of that. Because
no, dude, he's included because the town runs. I could say this a really
okay, just
not nice
say
way,
what you
but
think.
He's included because the entire town depends on him. He is the face there locally. If you picked up that school and you moved it, that town would be no more. Period. Gone. Zip. Nada. All gone. Everybody. That
So
town
what,
is there because of the school.
What do you mean he's included because he's important?
Because the school is required for that town to run. If there was no school, there would be no Moscow PD.
I'm curious if the police wanted to include him or if he pushed his way in to be included.
I think anytime you have a school that is making decisions on raises, income adjustments, pay, the amount of money going towards the police force, that is already inherently biased. It's already biased. It's done.
Did Scott Green donate money to the police?
What? He controls their pay.
He doesn't control all the police's
Absolutely.
pay.
The people that are involved with the school are on the board for annual increases in salary. Absolutely. They are also an active part of determining how much money is going into that police station that is there on the campus. Yes, they are. They are. And we went through this on stream.
Oh.
In those annual pay breakdown documents, we went through it.
We did?
We did. Yep.
So there's a board that determines salary for the city, and Scott Green is on the board?
No, not Scott Green. People from the school.
Okay.
You're going to ask me detailed questions that I don't have this document in front of me.
Okay. Well,
But
I mean,
the school the school in general and the people involved in it determine how much financial assistance go into that police department. There is a literal police department on school campus.
okay. So there's a board, a city board that determines increases, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I don't remember going through that. Anyway.
Yeah, that is the same documentation that you pulled up in that one document about where it broke down how much money was used in the school that year. I don't remember all the names of all these groups, you guys. I just know that we drew the connections before, and that's why I'm talking in passing as we're going through this. But it like those details don't need to be proven by name right now to understand the fact that this town needs that school, needs it.
Yeah, they do.
So
I mean,
the police force would not be there without that school.
yeah. Well,
And that town's income supports all those people. So you have an increase in students, you're going to have an increase in people, you're going to have an increase in open positions in the college, you're going to have a bigger need for police. You're like, it is one organism here.
yeah, it is.
And none of it makes it okay for the school to be involved with police investigations. Police are supposed to be unbiased. They're supposed to be a completely separate entity. However, I know that's not real. We covered it in the Baltimore stuff. We've seen it here. It's just unfortunate because I think that creates more situations with more unreliable investigations. What should be going on is these police officers should be getting training how to handle and manage a crime scene effectively, because we've seen already firsthand they don't know how to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. But so remember in the Baltimore video, you said that politicians would tell the police that they needed more arrests because they were coming up for election.
The arrest percentage rate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that would like help them. Giving that percentage, like, oh, look, arrests are up this much, would help them in their campaigns and everything to say they're like fighting crime. And but what they were doing is they were arresting people for no reason and then releasing them because it wasn't about like conviction rate, it was about arrests, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you think it's possible that, because Scott Green would almost essentially work kind of like a politician when it comes to the cops, because he's worried about the image of his university. Do you think it's possible that somebody in a town, okay, not necessarily Scott Green, okay, but just in a town where there's a university and the university is the main source of income for the town, like more than half of it, and the tiny town essentially supports that university. Do you think it's possible that whoever is president or head of that university would ask things like that of the police? Will you focus more on this?
It doesn't even matter. I think it's possible. It happened.
It happened with politicians.
No, it happened in Moscow. It is confirmed 100% that Scott Green was having a meeting every morning with Moscow PD.
I understand that, but I'm talking about, okay, for instance, the plainclothes officers in the Banfield.
Uh-huh.
Do you think it's possible Scott Green could say, we're having issues with rumors and stuff about, our university, or headlines like Sigma Chi, they party too much, they're irresponsible, they're doing hazing, or we had this hazing incident. Could you guys maybe develop a task force that could handle underage drinking and hazing and partying and stuff like that? Because we need that to look like we're really tackling it for our image.
I mean, of course.
We need to make sure this is safe, a safe place for our students, and parents don't think their kids are going to come here and, be hazed to death, or, get drunk and, freeze in a creek.
I mean, of course.
Be murdered.
But that's not what we saw happen here. Yes, they absolutely do those things, 100%. And it happened in Moscow. Like, after that, what was his name that was found under the bridge?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Wyderick?
Yeah.
Or was it the other one?
Maybe it was Wyderick. Yeah, I think it is.
Trying to remember.
They put together
Hudson.
A task force. That's one of them. But they put together a task force in the school where the Greek row, you guys, the Greek community had a group of people that were supposed to be managing the students, and they were working directly with the police.
So here's where I'm going with that, though, is like, maybe because Scott Green was trying to turn around this university, and they have past allegations that don't look good, like the professor murdering the student, like the essay from a top athlete in their school to another student. And he's trying to deal with those headlines. He's also trying to deal with, the fact that Sigma Chi has a bad rap with hazing and drinking, and lots of other fraternities do too. And they have campus police. Okay. They literally have like a little police station for their campus that are Moscow PD that cover their campus. So does he already have a really good relationship with the police officers before this crime? He has a good relationship with the department.
Yes.
And he asked them for favors. He asked them to focus on this or that because it's beneficial for the universe. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But nobody ever talks about this.
Yeah.
I'm asking
we have
Okay, but I'm asking these questions to make it connect for people. And
Sure,
no, we have
I got
not
you.
talked about this exactly like this.
Yeah, that's why I brought up Baltimore, was for this reason. I've just been pretty lenient on Scott Green, but I'm feeling less like being lenient on him since his book. But yeah, it is this reason right here. I have from the very beginning, since you came out with that video talking about where the money went in the school, since that day, I have believed that there is too much of a role with the university and the police from that day.
Yeah. And I think him being briefed on this crime makes that, it proves that
Exactly.
entirely. And then it makes you wonder, though, how comfy that relationship was. And because sure, they could have them in briefings, but maybe it's a briefing specific. No, listen to me, specifically about campus safety. Okay. And maybe that's the briefing is, okay, Scott Green, we upped this today, we saw this, we did this, and that's it.
Got it.
And it doesn't have private vital information about the investigation. Maybe it's only about campus security and where they're headed, what they're doing. Maybe it's only about that. Now, if they are briefing him on the actual investigation, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And with him being involved in the press conferences on top of it, how comfy that relationship is worrisome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think that is a possibility of daily briefings about campus security and not the investigation.
Oh, no way, dude. What?
I'm saying in a normal situation that could be possible.
I don't know.
I think in this situation, that's not what it is.
Not for the president. Not for a president meeting with law enforcement every morning to update him. That just seems like way excessive. So
Agreed.
A president is managing, like, you might as well call them the CEO, right? Because there is a board of directors above him. There are bosses above him, but he is over the main financial and executive decisions of the school, right? So he wouldn't be the one that would be getting morning briefings every day on the movements of the police officers. Where I'm going with that is with that happening, that's why I think there's a major issue there. That's a problem. That is micromanaging investment in an area that Scott Green should not be a part of. Does he have law enforcement background? Does he have a background of being able to manage law enforcement and everything that comes with it?
It wouldn't matter.
It does matter. It absolutely matters. Because I don't think so. Therefore, I don't think he should be in any police officer, think tanks, briefing, managing sessions, whatever.
I understand why it matters, but I'm saying it doesn't matter because of the position he's in. Anybody in that position, even if you were to have a law enforcement background, I don't think should be involved in the investigation because of bias and, not being able to be completely objective when it comes to the financial success of the institution you're running, and it literally weighing in the balance of this case being solved.
Yeah, I was saying that, like, theoretically, looking at it from an officer's perspective. I didn't mean literally, like, do you have that background? Because I agree.
I know, I said that's why I understand why that matters, but in the same respect, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't, unless you're a part of that police department. There's just no room for you in the investigation. There's nothing you're going to add to it. There's only things you're going to take away from it.
Agreed.
So it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. And we saw how unsuccessful they were at managing that crime scene.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's not even a question at this point. I think we have legitimate proof based on the standards, that video you did about the standards, that there are standards in handling a crime scene, and just from looking at it from the outside, they did not follow them at all.
I wouldn't be able to get those emails from
So
Scott Green
if they didn't follow
and the
those
police.
at all on the outside, do you think should we have much faith they followed them on the inside?
Scott Green is a representation of a corporation, and corporations don't fall under like those same FOIA rules. They're actually protected to where they won't show any of those. It's the same way that I manage in the positions that I'm in, where most of my positions include like a disclaimer at the bottom talking about how you can't share this email. It's against the legalities of the corporation or whatever. I mean, the only way that they would be public is if they had some sort of rule that said, hey, it's this corporation or this school's policy that they're going to all be public. But I don't see that being the case. I would be shocked.
So
I would be really shocked because they fall in line with the corporate rules, not the public rules, because they're not public owned, they're private owned.
Universities, I think it
or
may
private managed,
it may vary state to state, but that is true that you can get emails from universities when it is a university email account. Now, if
I mean by public, I mean it's not paid by taxpayer dollars.
I mean, it is a public university. But if he's smart and knows that that is possible and that he wouldn't use his university email, or they wouldn't email those details back and forth. They would only speak about them in person.
Yeah. But I was using the public terminology as in taxpayer dollars. That university is not paid by taxpayer dollars, meaning we don't own anything. We don't have rights.
The University of Idaho is a public university. It's not private. It's a state university.
I mean, look it up. Look up the financials. The different rights are involved based on taxpayer support or not.
So what, are you saying it is a private university?
No, I'm not saying that. You're using definitions that don't apply to education. So I don't want to go into the whole education based, but if your taxpayer money, okay, very simple. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible. If your taxpaying dollars don't pay for that college to function and run, then we don't have any personal rights to their information. That's it.
Okay.
That is everything. That's what makes us have the right to get all police communication and all police information, is the fact that we pay for it. The public does. Has different standards.
It's a land grant school. I don't know what that means necessarily. Institution of higher education designated by state to receive benefits of, I don't even know what that means. So what is a land grant school? Do you know?
It is a grant of a land, which means the land on it should be owned by the state, and depending on the financial status of the school, I believe, this is me guessing without looking into it, all right, is they're essentially loaned this land that they can use and don't have to pay taxes on it.
What does that mean?
And they don't have to pay taxes on it. So I can look I don't believe anyone, CJ, and you guys shouldn't believe me.
CH.
Sorry.
No, I don't know who to believe right now, because I know and I have seen people request emails from universities, and that there is some kind of policy or something there that allows people to receive those, but that doesn't mean that you can always do that with every university. So I really don't know.
Yeah.
I would think that
it's policy per
we would-
university, which is what I was saying.
I-
We can look it up.
So I would think if that was doable, somebody would have already done it. There's too many people invest in this case. I think we would already have them if it was doable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of stipulations to that as well. So it would have to be literally through the university's portal.
You know that it's a JRL.
Mm-hmm. What?
He was trying to get emails from, I think, a college that either Bryan Kohberger went to or his sister went to. I think it was DeSales, maybe. I don't remember.
Uh-huh.
But he was trying to get emails between Bryan Kohberger and his sister. And they came back and were like, yeah, no, not happening. And he
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, then he threatened to file a lawsuit or something like that, because it's according to policy, they have to give those over. But the university said something like, they're private or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember.
There's a lot of stipulations to that. There's a lot of stipulations to that. So, I mean, we can look into them. It seems like a lot of time invested to try and search for something that I don't know. For me, doesn't feel worth it, but they were meeting every morning in person. If I'm going to talk about something that might be gray area, it's going to be in person. So, but I can definitely look.
Yeah, we can. Oh, yeah. She works for the school system and was trying to get her employment emails. I think you're right. You're right about that. Actually, yeah. Which is, that's digging too far for my comfort, doing something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we do tons of FOIA requests, but I can submit one, but
I don't believe it's a FOIA request for university emails.
Well, they're talking about emails from the police. So
okay.
I don't know how that's going to go, because it's different. It is a FOIA doesn't fall under school. A FOIA is specifically the police or the legal court system, the justice system. But we can definitely check. I mean, it doesn't hurt to check. You know, we've already submitted quite a few FOIA to Idaho.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue digging and sending in FOIA requests, that doesn't bother me. I'll look into it, but
that's how we got Brent
Kohberger stuff.
Yeah, that's still sitting in a folder that we haven't.
It's a lot. It's
lot.
Been covered quite a bit. And honestly, I haven't seen necessarily the benefit to digging into it completely, because other people have already done that, and clearly there are problems there, but I don't see a strong connection to this case. I think it's almost a separate one in itself. There would need to be more there to connect it to this.
I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't know. I think for me, it could be 50-50. Because again, like there's some very big coincidences between the Brent Kohberger and what was going on 15 minutes away. And then on top of it, like one of the weirdest things ever is the fact that they lived in the same towns all the way across the US. That is so strange. And the cell phone records where they're overlapping in certain cities and things like that.
So do you remember seeing those pictures of Bryan Kohberger doing push-ups? And he was in some kind, what was that? What was he in?
That's the training that everyone talks about that he got kicked out of. That I think it's probably for smoking weed or something like that. And mainstream media has suggested because he was doing something to women. But that was that class where
ROTC.
I don't know if it's ROTC for that picture where he's heavy set and doing the push-up, or if that was the police academy-ish school. I'm not sure. Someone can protective services program. Thank you, J. Ray. Protective services program.
What even is that? So it's not a military thing like ROTC is? It's not like a military thing.
No,
ROTC is military.
Yep, it's police related.
Okay, I want to write that down.
Yeah.
I just want to remember that.
Yep.
I don't think that's what was supposed to pop up, but okay.
Yeah, some people are saying that it's still public record. I'll check with the emails, you guys. I'll definitely check. It's going to be stipulated on a per school basis. So everything that's .edu does not necessarily mean that the public has access to it. It's going to be stipulated based on that school's rules. I saw Ian put in there that they get like an annual grant of like 100 million or something like that, which that makes it more likely, but that a grant doesn't necessarily mean that it is completely funded by us taxpayers. But I will find out. I just don't know. That's why I'm not committing to it, because I don't know. I have no idea. But I can search it for sure.
Yeah, FOIA requests can be finicky. You do have to word them right.
Dude, they're the worst.
They are the worst.
Literally the worst. I hate FOIA
They
requests.
make it sound like it's so easy. Like, you just put in your request and we'll get it to you. But you have to know that it's there. Like,
yeah, you have to know it's there. And every single department has a different way of doing it. So on some of them you need to call, on others you need to do an email, on some of them it has to be an email with this information added, on others they have an actual portal that you put in your name. Like, it is such a pain in the butt. I hate them, man.
Every jurisdiction is different.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone is different, and it's all frustrating. You would think with it being a constitutional right that they would have some kind of streamlined system. You know what I mean? You would think they need to have a streamlined system, in my opinion. But what can we do except wait for more evolution in technology, and then it will be better? You know what I mean? We'll probably be able to get a singular database for all public information like that once we have like social ratings, you know?
I mean, there is a system that you can get some things on, but
yeah,
FOIA is needed. Like,
they need a FOIA program. Someone that is great at writing programs needs to create a national FOIA database where all those get uploaded. Everything.
You just want it all, don't you?
Of course. I am pro technology. Give me more.
I
give
don't
me
think they
more.
want it that simple and streamlined, though. I really don't think they want it that way.
I'm sure they don't, but you know, unfortunately, the people own this country. The people.
Yeah, they don't want to make it easy for the people to know everything, though.
Yeah. I know our social credit. Yeah, social credit scores will come when the requirement for a chip to be implanted in the back of your neck happens, you know. But
I really think that our society is going to be one of those movies one day.
yeah,
It's gonna be.
for sure. I've said that from the beginning that technology is not going away. It's not going. It'll never go away. It's not going to happen. The only way it's going to go away is if some cataclysmic event happens and like we restart. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny?
Yeah, I was saying that satirical.
You know what's
the social radio.
You know what's funny is that I know somebody in the 70s who did a time capsule, and they all wrote in the time capsule a letter, and it was a letter where they were saying what they tried to imagine what the future would be like. And they wrote in the letter like what that would look like, and then they opened it after like 2000, and because that's what it was about, like, what do you think the future is going to be like once we hit the 2000s? And like the kids, of course, were saying like flying cars, and
there's
all
been
this
this
stuff.
obsession with flying cars for so long, and like that's so unreliable, you know. It's just an unreasonable thing, a flying car.
You know,
it brings so many like risks to it, and a flying car is essentially just a hovering car, really. But then why not just have wheels, I guess, you know?
Well, I think flying cars would be really cool. Like, you know, one movie that I feel like,
I mean, if it's a plane,
if
goes...
one movie that I saw that actually I felt like it wasn't a movie, it was a show, but Altered Carbon on Netflix.
Yeah, incredible
the
show.
Way that
amazing.
But the way that society works with the flying cars, like their society is built up into the air, and it's kind of like old school stuff, like Star Wars, like with when Anakin was young, and they had their flying cars, and the city was kind of built like that too. I don't know which episode that was, but they're built like huge skyscrapers. Things are built up into the air, and not just like you get to everything from the ground anymore. You can get to everything from the air too, kind of thing. Yeah, you can't really avoid traffic though, I would assume, because there would have to be some way of marking airways where you drive. Like there would be roads in the air, or else you would have people crashing everywhere.
Yeah.
You couldn't. Are you kidding me? With the way people drive right now, I would not want to give half of the population a flying car.
Yeah,
they would be flying into
know.
People's houses. They would be flying into buildings. I do not trust half the population with flying cars. So there would have to be roadways in the air.
So, you know, one thing we're really, I hope I said really enough, but really bad at doing is mixing our technology. And what I mean by that is the way that our civilization has progressed and evolved. We have these experts in electricity, electrical experts, or electricians, or electrical engineers, and then you have experts over here in this other thing. But a lot of the more advanced technology is going to require a blend of these things, like the ability to control electrical charges through magnetism and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think once we start broadening our knowledge and experience into these things, I think we'll see another major boost in our technology. And I think that there will be a way to control that in the air, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I think there's a way to do anything.
We have gone totally off topic, but it is a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. We always, at one point of the show, go to some weird territory. But I mean, I really hope we have flying cars one day, just being real. That would be great. You know what would be really cool, though, is if there were air, like roadways, basically, where there's something marking that way so people can follow it, is if there's an autopilot that syncs you to that roadway and you don't have, like, you just go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody said it in here that
Take a nap on my way to work. Like,
Musk has the tunnels, you know?
yeah.
So what would be cooler is if we did away with cars completely and we had tubes underground, like those mail tubes that suck up and go to wherever they need to go, but that's for people. So like, you need to go somewhere, cool, let me get in my tube, you know, and you pop up where you need to go. I think it would be pretty awesome.
Sounds like too much G-forces.
No.
It's called a subway system.
Yeah, but it could be cooler than that. Like really cool. But yeah, I just think that technology could be easier managed because you can use magnetism. So we start getting into really incredible technologies when you're blending magnetism with electricity. Like really cool. Really, really cool stuff.
I'm curious how technology is going to evolve with solving crimes, though. Like, we already know IgG is the future of solving crimes. App data, background app data is the future of solving crimes.
Yeah.
There's
going to come a time where people are not going to be able to get away.
Facial recognition is going to be another.
I don't know about the IgG and how good we're getting with finding like DNA, skin cell DNA, because it could literally come from anywhere.
Well, I do think
anywhere.
The issue when it comes to the new solving of cases with genetic information is that our tech is getting so sensitive that it almost becomes problematic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because
it could come from anywhere.
Because when you're talking trace DNA, that's considered environmental DNA, which I've explained this to you guys before, but you know, environmental biologists go out in the environment and they take samples from the soil and the water and they look at all the individual cells of, like, you know, the different kinds of animals and microorganisms living there to calculate the biodiversity and see how that environment is doing, like to see the health of that environment. That is the same thing they're doing when they're pulling trace DNA from a crime scene, is they're getting individual cells. Now, that could mean that that person or organism was there, but it could also mean that DNA traveled there from somewhere else. We know supposedly that Bryan Kohberger ate at the restaurant that Maddie and Xana worked at. How do we know one of them didn't serve him or touch his plate washing the dishes or anything like that? And then Maddie worked there and then
I agree.
She was sleeping in that bed. What if that was a knife sheath that they already had there and she touched it one day after coming home from work? Like, I don't know. And his is the only one that pops up because it's the only person who is not live there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't understand it. I just hope people understand that when they say touch DNA, they aren't necessarily meaning
a fingerprint.
It literally had to be touched. When they say touch DNA, they are talking about the shedding of skin cells that happens when you touch things, right? Like just touch things, or sheds off your body at all times. There was that on it. it doesn't mean he touched it himself specifically. So yeah, I think it's a very, very, very good example and question. And
So
it's the same question that what's her face, that lawyer, you know who I'm talking about,
Andrea Burkhart.
and yep, Burkhart. It's the same questions that she was bringing up and has been bringing up, that like, okay, that DNA is there and it's on site and it looks bad, but how did it get there? How do we know that he was in the house? You don't have to be in the house for your trace DNA, skin cell DNA, touch DNA to be there. If it was a fingerprint, they probably would have a partial fingerprint.
Yeah, I want to say that because I saw it mentioned in several podcasts that it was a fingerprint. It has not been stated that. And I think by saying touch DNA, you're implying that people are assuming, okay, that means he touched it and there is a fingerprint with DNA. That is not what we're talking about here so far that we are aware of. We are talking about trace DNA, which is shedded skin cells. If there was a fingerprint because he actually touched that button and they could pull a fingerprint and there were cells there, that would have been mentioned, I would think, somewhere.
I agree.
And it has not been at all. It has been only mentioned that there was trace DNA.
I agree. I think exactly. And that's concerning.
That is concerning because if there was a fingerprint, that would say a heck of a lot more than random skin cells, because those literally spread like wildfire. You guys, they spread everywhere.
Yeah.
And there are studies backing that. There are studies proving that, you know, what was that one study? People holding hands for 2 minutes straight, and then the next thing they touched had every time the other person's DNA on it, and even in one instance didn't have their own DNA but the other person's DNA.
Right. Yeah.
It didn't. That's insane that you could shake somebody's hand, go touch something, and it has only their DNA on it or more of their DNA than yours.
I agree. I think it is strange. It is really, 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 really strange. Absolutely. But that is the show tonight, everybody. You know what I haven't been suggesting to everybody is to hop on Discord. Do you want to post the member link from YouTube? For those of you that are new, we have a Discord, and we are actually going to be investing some more time into the Discord, and putting some really fun things in there, some true crime investigating type fun things in there. Discord is totally free, and you do need that invite that I just posted in the chat there. You have to have that invite. And one thing I always suggest to people, because Discord can be a little bit confusing. Discord is very specific and different from other websites and things, but make sure if you don't know how to manage it or maneuver it, just go on YouTube and search Discord walkthrough, and it makes it much, much, much easier. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do.
There's
and how to do it.
Channel membership
and
link.
Yes.
Oh, Gingeroo, I'm sorry. They said no, don't go.
Yes, we posted the YouTube membership link, and we are absolutely going to be doing some more with that as well. So I'm always trying to drum up new ideas, and a lot of times I can't even help my ideas, and we're coming up with some new stuff for the show. We'll also have some suggestions, and it's going to be a good time. And one of those things are going to be investing some additional videos for members only and on a daily basis, actually. So, you know, if that's something that you want to be a part of, check it out. And yeah,
please like the stream, you guys, if you haven't already. I
like
see
and comment.
Yeah, leave a comment, not just in the live chat, but the regular comments too, because that helps, of course.
Yeah.
Even if you're just saying, hey, or I hate you, or you're really dumb, or you're great, whatever floats your boat, I guess.
Yes, we are all Thought Riot Podcast. We are all Thought Riot Podcast.
Yes, but the goal is to get more on that Discord, involve and invest some more time into it. It's no big deal. I always forget to like too, but I tell you what, since figuring out YouTube, I've realized how helpful it is to interact with people's videos, because before I watched it quite a bit, but I would always forget. And now that I'm on the other side of it, like just like when I used to serve tables, okay, a really long time ago, tips, they rely on tips so much. And after being a server, now I tip way better way better, because I know the struggle, and I know when somebody is a really good server, they deserve it. Like, they
Yeah,
really
they
deserve
sure
it
do.
because of the way the pay works as a server. Honestly, it's in a lot of states, the way they handle that, I think, is wrong. So they really depend on the tips. But now, being on the other side of YouTube, I realize how helpful it is to like a video, to watch it through and not click out of it, to subscribe, to do all that stuff. And I do it now to the creators that I really support and love their content. It's super, super helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, state labs can't even do IgG. It's not even possible on a state level right now, which is something we went over in. You know what? I don't know if we actually talked about that in the Wild Wild West IgG Wild West video. We may have talked about it in the stream that was after on the True Crime Talk Show here, after we watched that premiere. Maybe we talked about it in the Wild Wild West video though too. I'm not sure. But that was one thing I learned when reading the interim policy about forensic genetic genealogy, is that IgG is not possible on a state level. Our state labs cannot do it. It is only private companies or the FBI that can do it. So it is always outsourced, which is another reason why we have not seen it in active investigations very often, because they have to be active investigations that have the FBI helping, or it has to be like cold cases where the state is, getting Otherum, or, the FBI is asking them to help out. That's why we haven't seen it in active cases too much, but it's going to become something that is used in active cases more often, way more often.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not even possible at state labs, which it kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize that even trace DNA a lot of times, like when we're talking about how minute the amount of DNA is at this crime scene, and other crime scenes, a lot of times it's sent to other labs, or especially in cold cases, because the state labs aren't capable of handling DNA like that. They do the basics, essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
They don't have, a lot of them don't have this incredible tech in the DNA game right now. Private labs do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Did you highlight the super sticker?
I did. And shout out to Eric.
It says, "How's it going?" And it looks like a little potato.
Yeah.
It looks super funny.
That's awesome. Love it. Yes, and we appreciate you, Eric, come through.
How's it going with you, Eric?
As always. That's awesome. We love all of you guys. And like I said in my big old rant in the beginning, Thought Riot podcast is what it is because of all of you guys. We are expanding, learning, thinking, creating, becoming Thought Riot together with all our minds working in the same direction. And it's pretty incredible. So make sure you come check out the video tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow.
So for members, we need to come up with member badges for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, like several of them. So I'm going to create a community post after this stream. And over the next 24 hours, I want you guys to shoot what you want in the comments. And then we can vote on them after that.
Okay.
The best
good.
the best ideas, you know?
Yeah.
Because I want it to come from the community, you know. I want the community to be a part of picking what you want your member badges to be. And if you have ideas for emotes or anything like that, please let us know. I have a list of some that I need to create. And you know what's funny? I just wanted to tell everyone this. I did a AI image generator for hot dog chapstick, and I got the best image ever.
Really?
Yeah, it was
No
pretty
way.
great.
That's awesome.
It almost feels like we created that product and created like a mock-up already to have it sold. That's how good the picture was.
That's awesome. My medicine's wearing off. Hopefully I did a good job tonight and you guys couldn't tell I'm super sick. So if I seemed a little bit slow thinking, that's why. I think my Dayquil's wearing off. But shout out to Heather. Heather is one of our awesome supporters who is always on here having good conversation in the comments. And we are super happy to have you here. We love having you here. And signing up as a member. Oh, one other thing real quick too. So that's what I meant to say when you were talking about like the importance of likes and comments, you guys. So just to reiterate, YouTube is fighting fake accounts right now. And one of the things they do is when creators upload content, it checks if you have members, subscribers, or anything in between that have not been active on your account. And if you haven't been active, they boot you off of that account, which is absurd and so lame and unfair to the creators, unfair to the subscribers and users.
Yeah.
They essentially say, hey, you need to use YouTube obsessively and like, comment, and these things. Otherwise, we're going to remove you from your favorite creators. It's insane. So hit that like button because it benefits you too. You know, like, dislike, comment, whatever. It benefits you as well.
A major issue is that, you know, as you all know, people buy subscribers, which I think is what they're trying to get rid of, because once you reach a certain subscriber amount,
you get buy subscribers.
Yes, you get
On
plaques,
YouTube?
you get plaques, you get benefits, and you know, you get benefits with YouTube being a high subscriber count, like super high. And yes, people buy views, they buy likes, they buy subscribers, and they're trying to get rid of that because it's a problem.
How do you buy subscribers on YouTube though? Like, just so they have a quick jump and then like it's just going to get removed?
Yep. But it didn't used to get removed. It's
That's
getting removed
so
now
lame.
because YouTube is real. They know that. So they did this, I assume, to get rid of all the people who have fake subscribing accounts as
geez.
a major part of their subscriber count. So, I mean, it's going to show the real numbers for a lot of those people. But unfortunately, it is going to people who had natural growth. It's going to affect them too.
Yeah, I don't do anything the fake way.
No.
I've been in sales too long in my life to understand like the shortcuts never help you. Never, ever, ever help you. And I just would never do that. I'd rather have it take longer and have it be true, deep, and a very thorough, vast group of viewers and take slower. But I mean, we also don't depend on the income for this show either. So maybe that's why too. Maybe people feel like they'll be able to make a living from this better. I don't really know.
You can usually tell who, even before they start doing this, you could tell who bought subscribers, because even though they would have a high subscriber count, their interactions with their viewers, like I forget what the term is called, brands would look at it, sponsors would look at it, because the interaction between them, there's some kind of percentage that shows up on places like Social Blade and stuff like that. And that, if that's low, that means they're probably not going to sell much using with their sponsorship, like that. The interaction, that's why they started going to a lot of smaller content creators, because they realize that smaller content creators charge less and they have more interaction with their viewers, which actually gets them more marketing and better turnover rates with investing money into that influencer or whatever. They're getting people buying more than when they do it with these high people with high subscriber counts that aren't interacting much with their actual viewers.
Yeah, interesting.
So you could tell that based off of percentages, but now it's going to be even more apparent, because you're going to see people's subscribers numbers just dropping drastically out of nowhere.
Well, ours haven't dropped. The only thing that's happened with ours at times is when I'm uploading
engagement.
When I'm uploading content, we usually only get like 30 to 40 subs a day versus the normal, 50 to 100 or whatever it is. So, but yeah. Anyways, we appreciate all of you. You are all part of Thought Riot. You are all Thought Riot podcast. And hope you had a good time with the True Crime Talk Show. Make sure you check us out on all our social media platforms. On everything, you can find us at /Thought Riot Podcast, all the way spelled out, except for Twitter, aka X. We are /Thought Riot Pod. And yeah, we have changes coming, really great changes coming. And gosh, the color seems so much better in today's video. What did I do different? Yeah. Like, it's much warmer.
It's warm, but it's also not too terribly warm. I don't know. I don't know if it's warmer.
I've been playing with...
No, I don't think it's warmer.
Oh, for sure it is. I think so.
I look so pale. I just think it's because it's like the dead of winter and I am so pale.
The black on the back wall looks darker. The actual brick color looks darker. And yeah, I think it looks way warmer. Personally, I was messing with the camera earlier to try and get it adjusted in with the new tech stuff. So, but anyways, we appreciate you all, every single one of you. You're all awesome, and we are adios.
Good night, guys. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow.
See ya.